Despite being on sale for over 2 decades, the Volkswagen Touareg has never particularly caught on in the UK. In fact, of the 1.1 million or so Touaregs sold since the original was launched in 2002, only around 60,000 have found homes here. In a market that laps up SUVs like they're going out of fashion, the Touareg's lack of popularity might seem baffling. Or maybe not. Maybe, in fact, the Touareg's lack of popularity could just be down to the fact that we're a nation of badge snobs. I mean, think about it. It's not like the Audi Q7 or the Porsche Cayenne, which are based on the same platform as this, remember? It's not like they struggle for popularity. And yet the Touareg, despite being a really good big SUV, you know, it's roomy, it's powerful, it's well equipped, it's got good performance, it'll even tow up to 3.5 tons. And yet people just don't seem to buy into it. So is it just that when it comes to big luxury SUVs, people don't want a VW badge? Or is there something else going on here? To find out, we've been driving both the 3-litre diesel Touareg in Black Edition trim and this, the R. And I'll say straight away that we're going to make a hearty recommendation for the more affordable of the two options. Because while the R might be the flagship trim of VW's flagship SUV, it's not nearly as good as cheaper and more humble Touaregs. No, the Touareg R we are testing here is a classic case of more is less. So it's more expensive, it's more powerful, it's more complicated, and it's a less accomplished vehicle as a result, I would argue. Now, I should also add that the reason we're revisiting the Touareg today is that this 3rd generation model was facelifted recently, end of 2023. So we are having a fresh look at it, bearing that in mind. Now, actually, the changes aren't huge. Front and rear, very small styling differences. Inside, you get a bit more padding in a few different places to make it feel even more luxurious. But the drivetrains are the same, all carried over. A lot of it is about specification changes, and on that front, you can no longer have a Touareg with the smaller touchscreen. You used to be able to get a 9.2-inch screen here. You now get the 15-inch screen as standard, and similarly, the analog dials have gone. All Touaregs now get digital dials as standard. For lovers of tech, this can only be a good thing, although as with so many of these digital cockpits and large screens, it's worth saying that it takes some acclimatisation. Even once acclimatised with these systems, actually having such a screen isn't necessarily a great thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it looks great and you can fit a lot on it, but it's just it's a big area to operate. So changing the heating controls, for example, you have to tap down here and you have to look to see what you're doing. You can't instinctively feel for physical buttons and adjust them. And another one that you might find yourself using quite a lot is the safety systems, particularly the speed warning, the lane keeping assist. So if you set off on your journey and you forget to disarm these features, which you might sort of naturally want to do, you have to go through the screen to do it, which is fine, but you press a button here to get to a shortcut, and then you can do simple tick menu, so it's not too difficult to do, but you do have to look to do it. So we're in this situation where actually interacting with the safety features becomes a distraction, which seems a bit ironic, really. Anyway, another of the upgrades for this facelifted Touareg are the matrix LED headlights. So these have got some 38,000 LEDs, and the idea of having that many LEDs is that it allows you to more effectively mask oncoming traffic. So effectively you can leave the lights on high beam and then it will mask around them to give you the best possible visibility at night. And I've driven this car at night and I have to say the headlights are awesome. Like when there's no traffic around, it's like driving in the daylight on full beams. It's amazing. And the masking seemed to work very well. Nobody flashed me, or the only thing is, as with all these auto headlight dipping systems, is the only way you really know if they're not working properly is if you've dazzled someone. And I would just worry that with 38,000 LEDs, you're not just going to dazzle them, you're going to really dazzle them and they're going to be really angry with you. But as I said, seemed to work fine, very impressive. And sticking with LEDs, there is now on these facelifted cars a strip of LEDs across the grille of the car and across the back as well, and the VW badge lights up red as well. Snazzy. Practicality remains a Touareg's strong suit. As before, there's no 7-seat option, but the 5 seats you do get are as luxuriously roomy as you could ever wish for, with a good range of adjustment. The boot, meanwhile, offers a whopping 810 litres of space in standard models, or 655 litres in those equipped with the plug-in hybrid drivetrain like the Touareg R I'm driving today. So it's a big and very practical SUV as far as interior and boot space goes. Now, being a big SUV, it's also worth noting that car parks, driving down narrow lanes, all these things can feel a little bit unwieldy, it has to be said. And that's one of the reasons I'd say go for the four-wheel steering option. It's actually standard on the R. You can specify it as an option on other Touaregs, and it actually does make quite a big difference in terms of low speed maneuverability, and also just makes it feel a bit more agile at higher speeds as well. As for general driving impressions, the Touareg is a very comfort oriented SUV. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you're aware of it. If it's not a sports SUV, then that's fine. And actually, it really suits its comfort brief very well. But it's one of the reasons we'd say it's probably not worth going for this R model, because even this is extremely comfortable. It's not a sporty SUV in any way, and one of the big tells of that is if you go into the driving modes, there is a sport setting, but there's no R mode like you get in a Golf R or Tiguan R, and I think that really says it all. The R also has some issues in the drivetrain department, because this particular combination of V6 petrol engine and electric motor does seem to have slipped off the pace in a number of ways. First, the electric-only range of up to 30 miles isn't actually that impressive these days. If you think a BMW X5 plug-in hybrid will do double that. And then there's the fact that although the Touareg R does hold the horsepower top trump within the Touareg range, with 456 horsepower, it's actually also down on torque compared with even the entry-level 228 horsepower diesel. So this has 450 newton meters to that car's 500 newton meters. Now don't get me wrong, this car is quick. It will do 0 to 62 in 5.1 seconds. But, you know, it's fast. But do you need to go that fast in this kind of car? Actually, I think what you want is to effortlessly waft along on a wave of torque. And that's what the diesel gives you. And then I also think with this plug-in hybrid system, there's just parts of it that are starting to feel almost a bit last generation. I don't know, it's the way the 8-speed automatic gearbox doesn't respond particularly quickly when you ask it to, particularly when you're in EV mode. And you also feel a few vibrations through the accelerator pedal, and the brake pedal's not always that linear. It's just, yeah, I think given this car's remit as being so supremely refined and comfortable, it just doesn't quite nail that brief as well as the diesel. Where all Touaregs excel is in comfort. These are quiet, soft-riding SUVs that waft away the miles with ease, particularly when equipped with air suspension. So I think we can conclude that the Touareg is a very comfortable luxury SUV. On air suspension, it's serene actually. It's one of those cars that you don't find yourself swerving around potholes. You almost just drive straight through them to feel how well it copes with them, which inevitably is sublimely well. What about price though? Well, the R costs £81,000, which is an awful lot of money. Even the V6 models, you can get V6 petrol, V6 diesels, they're around £70,000. Now I would argue that if what you want is a slightly left field choice of luxury SUV, then actually a Genesis GV80 might make more sense, a bit more affordable, a bit more left field. And if you don't want a left field choice, then it's hard to ignore that the Audi Q7, the BMW X5, the Volvo XC90, they're all in the same sort of ballpark for price. The XC90 is actually a fair bit cheaper, and although you don't get the V6, you have 7 seats. So no, VW is, well, they're not going to thank me for saying this, but as a new buy, the Touareg is actually, it's quite hard to justify. But as a used buy, well, now that's where it makes sense. So if you go onto CarGurus.co.uk today and you look at, say, a 4-year-old Touareg with 50,000 miles, the V6 diesel, it's going to be about £25,000. That is a lot of luxury SUV for the money. So yeah, if it was me and I was interested in the Touareg, I think I would let somebody else take that initial hit of depreciation and then enjoy what must surely be one of the best value luxury SUVs on the used market. We hope you've enjoyed this review. For more like it, please do subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and remember that when it comes to finding your next car, you can find loads of great deals from top rated dealers at cargurus.co.uk.